All right, so first of all, tell me a little bit about how the Obamas have changed the food culture in D.C. since they've come into office.
Well, I think they're changing the food culture nationally and internationally by their wonderful step of planting an organic garden on the White House grounds. Unbelievable to me that it's one of the first, I think the first garden there in 50-something years. If you look at the influence that John Kennedy had on men's fashion by abandoning the fedora or going without an overcoat at his inauguration, I believe that that changed men's fashion for to this day. I think that what the Obamas are doing with food culture in America is vastly more important than that, and I think it'll be just as sweeping as that. They are sending the message to Americans who aren't currently foodies that you want to eat seasonally, that you want to eat organically. They're encouraging people to grow their own food and to go out and try interesting restaurants on their date nights, and I think it's fantastic.
Although at the same time, Obama's taken a lot of trips to these hamburger joints, and we know that hamburgers aren't exactly the most eco-friendly thing around. You know, perhaps does he need to maybe go to I don't know, maybe a tofu bar once in a while?
I'm not going to tell anybody that they can't have a big, juicy, greasy hamburger once in a while because we all love them, and what the heck? You got the guy. Give the guy a break. Besides, I'm sure Joe wanted it too. But you find in President Obama someone who truly knows food and goes to restaurants that are really, really excellent. And I've been to some of the restaurants that he's been to. I wish I were there the same day because I'd like to congratulate him and thank him. Those of us, now I work at Food Network, and those of us who work in the food world are just thrilled about this because it's already a great time to be a foodie in America. It was great before this. They have the most visible platform in the world, and they're helping advance this message of cooking well and eating great stuff, and I'm tremendously excited about it.
And how does that stand in contrast to the previous president, George Bush?
I think the Obamas stand in stark contrast to the Bush family in a lot of ways, and I, quite honestly, was not a fan of George Bush at all, and I'm happy to see him gone. President Bush was somebody who rarely threw state dinners, never went out, clearly wasn't interested in learning about food or other cultures of food, and I think that's to his loss. In fact, one of the first reasons I knew I couldn't stand George Bush was when I learned that he hadn't left the country until he became the president. That lack of curiosity about the world, to me, immediately disqualified him for the office, which I think he should never have held. Since you asked.
Right.
But that era is thankfully over, and I think it's a new day. Look around you in the city of D.C. The restaurant community is, at a time when the economy is lousy, the restaurant community in D.C. is buzzing like crazy because we have a White House that is into this. And not just fine, fancy food, but also soulful food like a burger once in a while. I think it's great.
And so you get one meal with Barack Obama. Where do you take him? What do you guys eat?
I think I'd let him pick.
Smart move.
I would be happy to have. Listen, you know what? You know what? If I could make one point, the one thing about the Obamas that has disappointed me on this subject is that Michelle has not professed any enthusiasm for doing cooking herself. Now I know she's very busy, and if I had a personal chef, I would enjoy that too. But Michelle, come on, why don't you get your hands in the kitchen there once in a while? It's fun.
You got the garden.
You got the garden.
Yeah.
I'm sure you got a sous chef who'll do the chopping for you. You just do the fun part, frost the cake.